Welcome everybody. This is your Power Plate virtual Discover workshop. This is a 1-hour workshop, so we'll be cramming in a lot of information into this next couple of minutes. If you have questions, please put those in the chat. I've got my fellow master educator, Haley, on here as well. She's going to be helping me to man the chat questions and make sure that we get everything covered, because we do want to make sure you guys get all the information you're looking to get on this as much as possible in this hour, as well as detailing kind of the things that we have planned. Hopefully that's going to cover what you're looking to find out. So I think most of you, it looks like, have answered those questions on the poll. I'm just going to scan back over those very quickly. Looks like a whole lot of us have Power Plate products, which is awesome. A few of you that do not, and a mix of the things that we have available in vibration, both whole body vibration and in targeted vibration. And I'm just going to give you a little snippet because I can't help myself, but I've got a lot of the targeted vibration products literally right here at my feet, at my desk. Why? Because I like to get up and use them. The roller, the dual sphere, the mini, and the pulse are literally all right underneath my desk because I use them throughout the day. I'm lucky enough that I've got my Pro 5 right back here. And you guys, if you have not seen it yet, this is the Rev, a whole new category of vibration. It is self-powered vibration. I'm super excited about that as well. If you haven't checked it out yet, you can see it on the app. You can also go on the website. Obviously, that's not going to be the focus of our workshop today, but I get very excited about Power Plate and the amazing innovative company that I work for. So I just wanted to share, in case you were wondering, what the heck is that doing in Laura's background? Well, that's the Rev. That's our self-powered vibration. The vibration actually is delivered through the pedals. So we can talk about that on another day, another time. Right now, we are here to talk about the Discover workshop. And this is your foundational education around whole body vibration and what you can use your Power Plate products for. And specifically, I see a lot of you are using it for flexibility, mobility, balance, as well as recovery. Some of the most amazing things that Power Plate can do for you, and kind of what I would consider non-negotiable items that you use your Power Plate for, but also for strength and power. So I know Haley, as well as myself, we both utilize this with athletes who are often using it for all of those things: recovery, balance, flexibility, mobility, but in addition to strength and power, that being part of what you can use your Power Plate for. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here in about another minute. I'll leave that up. So if you haven't had a chance, get in there now and answer those. For a lot of you, you are movement professionals, and this virtual workshop is not going to cover those in-depth science and research or the movement system and training components. So if you are looking for that more in-depth look at what Power Plate can do, we do have an online free CEC approved course that you can actually take and participate in. If you go to the link that you see here, that's available to you for free, and you can get that on the right through this link. So just go on to the website and you'll also find it there if you look under education and or training. So really quickly, just to give you this idea, this is our virtual Discover workshop, which you see down in the foundational part of what we provide, but we do have additional professional and specialist education and are constantly working to provide more daily. So please take a look online, email us at training@powerplate.com if you're interested. Okay, so today we're going to look at the what, the why, and the how as far as Power Plate is concerned. I apologize for that. The what, why, and how of what we're going to do here. It is a vibrating platform where we can prepare faster, perform better, and recover quicker. So what happens is the plate is actually moving, and it's going to stimulate those natural reflexes in your brain, which is going to increase more muscles to contract more often and improve circulation. So any movement that you do, whether it is simple, complex, if you do it on the ground, you can do it on the plate. You're just going to do it better. So really exciting stuff through harmonic vibration. That's what we're talking about here, harmonic vibration. So you can see the wave on this slide. And what we mean by harmonic vibration is it is consistent. It is something that the body can anticipate because of its precision and its predictability, and thus adapt. So two things determine that wave. You can see it's how far it's traveling and how often it's doing so. So how far we measure in millimeters, and it's a primary measurement of that up and down movement, and how often is translated into frequency, meaning hertz. So the body is then going to be working with both instability that's happening, those micro moments of instability, sensing that, as well as micro hits, because it is moving forward and back, side to side, and up and down all at the same time. So those two things are going to create, number one, a very realistic training environment, because we move in 3 dimensions, as well as then the two key things that we're looking for, and that's going to be those micro moments of instability and those micro hits, or ground reaction force. So you can see that illustrated here on this slide. What that means is our brain is going to be working really hard, because we're stimulating that central nervous system. We're stimulating our proprioceptors, our position sensors. That then, when it senses that instability or that moment of nothing's underneath us, is going to turn on more muscles more often. And as a result, then our body is going to not just have results in what we typically think of in a gym setting, kind of our hard bits, but it's going to have neurological adaptations, as well as muscle, tissue, facial or fascia, and skeletal adaptations. And then lastly, all of our circulatory adaptations. So your cardiorespiratory system. There are thousands of research papers at this point that you can look up. And if you're interested, go to this website right here, the science portion of the powerplate.com website, and you can type in keywords, or don't hesitate. Again, I'm always going to encourage you guys, if you have questions, to come back to training@powerplate.com, because we're happy to also help you with those concerns or questions that you might have. The second piece, so I mentioned we have whole body vibration. That's the power plate back there, but we also have targeted vibration. And the benefits there are going to be that it's going to still work to increase circulation, tissue hydration, because we're addressing a specific site. It's going to help alleviate pain, kind of, muscle soreness, stiffness that we associate with training, by driving circulation back to those areas when we put it literally on the spot that we're talking about, where you might be experiencing that. As a result of circulation being driven, then we're going to have that enhanced range of motion, flexibility, and mobility that come along with using our targeted vibration products. And then that's also activating our nervous system to say, hey, fix this spot that we're working on right here. So roller, we have the roller, the dual sphere, the mini plus, and the pulse, all available to you on the app, showing you how to use those. If you're concerned with, proper application, it's a very simple process. How sore are you and how sensitive to vibration? That's how you determine A, the setting, and then B, just put it on the bits that hurt. That's typically an easy way to think about it. So how do we, piece together what we're doing on Power Plate? Well, 3 things. And it coincides with what we're, mainstream thinking about working out kind of sits. We warm up, we work out, we cool down. So in the same way, Power Plate establishes our pillars and what we do with whole body vibration, and that is we prepare, perform, and recover. In that preparation phase, in your warm up, we want to focus on soft tissue. So all of your tissues, muscles, ligaments, tendons, those things, making sure that they are warm and ready to go. We do that through functional flexibility, so some dynamic stretching, as well as mobility and stability moves. You will always see that programmed in anything that you follow along with, whether it's on the app, on our YouTube channel, in a written program that you might receive. These things will be addressed. Then when we move into that perform, where sometimes people think of that as kind of the middle bit, the workout portion of what you're doing, there are going to be core integration moves where we get that powerhouse, everything between the shoulders and the hips, moving and grooving and, focusing on balance and stability, as well as then functional strength and power. So it's really about, what are you looking to achieve? How do you want to use the Power Plate in that way? And then putting that into that middle section. Lastly, the other bookend. So often we think of this as the cool down. That's where we recover. So again, we're going to address functional flexibility. So some stretching, some movement to drive blood flow back to those, you see soft tissue next. And we typically do that through massage, which is really kind of the best part, I feel, of power play, is that, we no longer need to think of a workout as, we should be really sore. In fact, I often tell my clients that being sore after a workout is actually not a good thing. It's not the sign of a good workout. It's the sign of a poor recovery, especially when you have power play available to you as a tool. We should really be working on diminishing any kind of soreness or stiffness after a workout. All right. When you're using your plate, you might be wondering, what the heck setting should I have it on? Well, you'll notice that if you use any of the pre-programmed options, meaning if you have, for example, a My 7, I saw some of you had a My 7 on there, or if you're utilizing a Pro 7 at a gym setting, and the software in the head, you follow along to a program, is going to automatically get you to the settings that you're going to see reflected right here on the slide. Think of it as your intensity dial. The vibration and the intensity of the vibration is the same as any other workout item that you might be using. So for example, if you were warming up on a treadmill, the first thing you do is not to sprint. If you're picking up a dumbbell and it's your first time to the gym, or you're just starting your workout, you're not going to go pick up a 500-pound dumbbell or a 500-pound barbell. You're going to start at the lower end. Same thing's true with the power plate. So if you notice in that prepare section or the warm up, we're at 30 to 35 hertz low. That's a low setting. So if you have the move, which is the plate that's pictured in the slide, that translates into dots. Or if you're using one of the larger plates and you see 1, 2, 3, 4 in the G factor, that's going to be level 1 or 2. Or on your move, it's 1 or 2 of those little lights in that little spectrum of 6. So just like with anything else, we want to start at those lower levels. Notice too that we're going to go for shorter durations of time, 30 to 60 seconds. One of the joys of power play is that we're activating more muscles more often, as we mentioned earlier. So we don't have to do a really long workout. We don't have to spend a long time, 5 minutes doing one thing, because we are achieving more in less time. So now that you've warmed up and you move to that perform section, this is where you might dial up the intensity. So dialing up where you're vibrating. You notice we can go now from 30 to 40 hertz as a recommendation, and you could be anywhere from low to that high setting. So again, how does that translate into your move plate, or perhaps one of the plates that shows G factor? We're talking about level 1 is 30 low, level 2 is going to be 35 low, level 3, 40 low, and then level 4, if you're on that move plate, we now have 4 dots, or if you're looking to your G factors, suddenly we're going to go back to 30, but it's going to be high. So now the plate is going to move in a little bit larger range of motion. Then it goes 35 high all the way up to 40 high. That's 6 dots on your move. Or again, if you're on a My 7, you'll see that reflected in that G factor. If you're on the Pro 7, again, G factor, but it does have some additional settings in those Pro units. Here as well, 30 to 60 seconds. What we've noticed is after those 30 to 60 seconds, you typically need a bit of a breather, because so much more is happening neurologically, muscle activation, that 30 to 60 seconds is sufficient. And we want to make sure that we're able to really maximize what the body and the brain is able to do. Next, cool down, recover, that bottom part of your chart you see here. With this, it's sort of like the TVPs. What feels comfortable for you? There are benefits to the therapeutic targeted vibration that you're going to receive in a power play, as well as whole body vibration in those really high settings, meaning all the way up to 50 high. If you like the way 50 high feels when you're massaging, put it on 50 high. If you don't, pull it back to a setting that makes sense to you as far as how it feels, because you're still going to get those circulatory benefits to your highways. So you can see here, frequency can be anything from 30, 40, all the way up to 50, which you're going to see on those Pro units if you ever use one. For example, I keep mentioning the Pro 7, that's often at gyms, all the way low to high amplitude. For this, when you talk about massage, when we talk about rehydrating those tissues and generating that circulation to move through functional flexibility as well, that we know that we're doing in recovery, you can go longer than 60 seconds. Now for the TVPs, slightly different as far as what we're doing time-wise. But notice again, I mentioned earlier that you can just choose the setting for how intense. Most of them have 4 levels, 1 through 3 increasing and 4th being an oscillation, going back through each of those intensity waves. But here it's about how sore you are and how sensitive you are to vibration. It's also going to be a matter of how intense your pressure is. So if you're using one of the mini pluses or pulse, the massage guns, you know, how hard are you pressing into your skin? If you're using perhaps the roller, how much of your body weight are you putting down onto the actual targeted vibration product? For both the pulse and the mini plus, you're going to do 2 to 4 different techniques. What that means is we're moving through, across, on, or perhaps holding it. And again, levels 1 through 4, but we're talking about 15 to 45 seconds per muscle area. For the roller and dual sphere, we can go a little bit longer because the intensity is not quite as much when we talk about what the vibration is doing. So notice that's 30 to 90 seconds. But again, 2 to 4 techniques. So different techniques are going to be rolling perhaps forward and back across, side to side rolling, or perhaps dragging and twisting. Those are different techniques when we talk about utilizing targeted vibration. So these are guidelines that we want to provide you with as you utilize the products. Again, if I'm rolling through this and you have questions, please don't hesitate to put those in the chat. Haley's going to be helping me man the chat so that I make sure that I can answer all of those in there, as well as hopefully we cover a lot of the stuff that you're looking for here. Okay, so one of the things we wanted to do was actually give you some information, some feedback in what you can do in each of these sections of working through prepare, perform, recover. So this is a sample of what we might do in a section of where we're warming up for perhaps some work on the power plate. Remember, in our warm up, in our prepare section, when we're preparing for whatever we're going to do, we're going to address soft tissue, functional flexibility, as well as mobility. So I'm going to hop on my power plate back here. I'm going to move my computer just a little bit, take my headphones out, and then go through each of these movements to show you what it looks like to do kind of a full body warm up, utilizing both our targeted vibration products as well as then the whole body vibration on the power plate itself. Okay, so tipping this down to make sure you guys can see me back here.
Hi, Laura.
Share the big screen so you can see.
Yeah, there you go.
A bit larger. All right. So we're going to start off utilizing some of our targeted vibration products. And I'm going to grab my roller right here, as well as I've got my pulse, because this is what we're going to use in the dual sphere in our warm-up, addressing glute quad, our foot, that plantar fascia area, as well as then our calf and our ITB. So again, when we talk about rolling, remember we said 2 to 4 different techniques. In this case, we're going for both the glute area back here, as well as the quad, utilizing our roller. You would choose a setting, decide where you want to be vibrating as far as the intensity of the vibration. And then for the glute, I'm going to use my power plate just to sit on. My plate is not vibrating, you guys, but it's going to help you just to see it a little bit better. So as I sit, I'm placing my backside right on top of the roller. I've got mine on level 2. I'm not going to lie, my legs are a little sore today. So I'm going to roll forward and back, typically in 1 to 2 inches, finding the areas that you might feel a little stuck, and you can kind of stay in those areas. We're talking 15 to 45 seconds. I'm going to roll side to side, meaning left to right. And then I might also drag it across, or in this case, I'm twisting. Remember, 2 to 4 different techniques, deciding kind of how you want to do that. That's our glute. You would spend those 15 to 45 seconds on each side. Now I want to show you the quad. So moving this again to the side, I'm going to place it down on my plate. Remember, I'm just using the plate as if it's a flat surface. It's not vibrating. I'm going to come all the way down into my quad. So I've got that right underneath. And the quad is a very large or long muscle. So I'm going to go 2 to 3 inches at a time, finding the spots where I feel really stuck. I'm going forward and back. Now I'm going to roll right to left, as well as then drag my leg across to really get that tissue moving. Now, one of the things that I love about the roller, and I'm going to come in just a little bit closer, as well as the dual sphere, is you might have noticed we have these raised emblems. What that does is when I twist or drag, it actually helps to kind of grab onto my tissue to really generate circulation and encourage hydration of the fascia, moving that fascia around. So it's one of the things that I absolutely love about both our roller as well as the dual sphere. You can see it also has those raised emblems on them. So speaking of which, we're going to the plantar fascia next. So again, I'm going to choose what vibration setting I want. Put that down here, and then I'm going to roll right through the middle of my foot, heel all the way through my toes. First, I can go to the inside, then I can straddle that area right over that kind of peanut shape, also go through the outside. So I'm going forward and back. Then I can twist, I can go across, and I can move left, right. So same thing applies when we talk about how we want to utilize this and that recommendation on that initial slide. So I would do both feet, going through those 2 to 4 techniques, 1 to 2 times, 15 to 45 seconds. So I'm only going to do this one side so I can make sure that I've addressed everything. Turn that off. Lastly, we're going to grab our pulse. So this is the massage gun. And first, we're going to address the calf. Then we're going to address the lateral quad, or ITB. That's that section between the knee and the hip. Now, because these areas are fairly large, you do have multiple attachments. And again, it comes down to how sore are you, how sensitive are you to vibration for both the level setting on your massage gun, as well as which attachment you want to use. So for a larger muscle group like this, and knowing that I'm a little sore, I'm going to use the small round. You can also use a large round if you were really, really sore. So it's not going to be quite so pointed as perhaps, in a very large muscle or a very sore muscle. I would not like the bullet, this very little attachment. We also have the large flat, which might be a good choice as well if you're feeling like you don't need quite as intense a setting. So I'm going to turn this on. Again, when we talk about the pulse, remember we go a little bit longer. So now we can go all the way up to 90 seconds. And again, you might go across, you might go left to right. You might hold it in a spot, addressing both of the calves. The same thing for that ITB, moving all the way down from knee to hip. So again, I've got the small round on here. And I would spend times in areas that feel a little stuck, or I notice a little bit more tenderness. Right through there, addressing both sides. And I should probably come just a little bit closer. I do want to show you guys. So this is the small round that I've got in here. They just pop in and out. All right, so that's the TVP section. Now let's move into our power plate. If you remember checking back to that chart, we're talking about level 1 or 2 on your move, or some of those plates where you have a G factor. I've got a Pro 5 that's level 30 or 35 low. Functional flexibility, that's where we're headed now, as well as mobility. And we are starting with the hamstring, the back side of that leg. So I'm setting mine to 30 low. So we're going to bring the foot up, knee is a little soft, and we're going to do some dynamic movement. So notice I'm pressing my hips to the back. We're going to be here for 30 to 60 seconds, if you remember. Now, our bodies don't just move in one direction. So make sure, notice now that I'm in that stretch position, I'm moving my hips left to right. I can also rotate them around. If you're unsure how to rotate around, you could take your foot and you could also move it like a windshield wiper. That's going to do a similar movement because we move forward and back, side to side, and we move rotational or transverse, frontal, and sagittal. We want to make sure that we address the muscle tissues in the same way. So we move through this, again, all three dimensions of movement, 30 to 60 seconds on one side, and then we would do that same thing, 30 to 60 seconds right here on the other side. So I've got my foot flipped up, I've got my knee a little soft, I'm going to come back, move right to left, move down and up, as well as that rotation. Now, if you're looking for even more, you could utilize the arms, reaching. You could reach right to left, you could reach across. That's going to help you deepen that stretch even more. Next, we're going to go into the anterior hip or hip flexor, the front side of this leg. You can do this either standing, so notice my knee is floating, or you can come down into the off the kneecap and into more of that where that quad insertion is to do this. So again, we're talking about dynamic movement. So I'm going to put my hands here on my hips. You can see I'm going to move forward and back. One of my favorite analogies is thinking about a big old belt buckle here, and you're going to push that belt buckle forward. Then in that stretch position, you're going to move right and left. I'll face you guys so you can see. Again, we're talking about having that anterior hip in that stretch position and then trying to just mobilize it even more. Lastly, that rotation, taking that, bringing this hip toward this thigh so that we're getting that entire muscle tissue, all those little fibers hydrated and moving. Same thing would happen if we were in that floating position, is I'm driving my hip forward, driving it right and left, or rotationally. Now, just like I showed you with the hamstring, we can also use arms to enhance that movement. So here, I can bring my arms up and over as I drive my hip forward. I can bring them right to left. Takes a little bit more balance. Make sure you've really mastered how to move the hip first before you add the arms. I can also reach it to the side so that I'm getting that rotational movement as well for that anterior hip. Again, 30 to 60 seconds each side. Next, we're going to go into our glute or posterior hip. One of my favorite ways to address this area is coming down onto your plate into a pigeon or modified kind of a 90-90 position. So we place that here, and don't worry if you're not super flexible, you can take that other leg, drape it down the side. The one you are stretching, the glutes, posterior hip, you are stretching is going to be the one that's loaded as much onto the platform as you can get it. Then we're going to use our chest to come into that stretch. So bringing it forward, moving it right and left, and then that transverse movement as well, or rotationally. Just like we did earlier, you can utilize the arms. So we could reach with those arms to enhance our range of motion. For each of these, always looking to really move through all three dimensions of movement. Same thing, other side. I'm mostly doing this so I can be equal for those 30 to 60 seconds. The great thing is here too, we're also in contact with that vibration directly so that we're getting that kind of targeted or therapeutic massage, in addition to driving full body vibration through our central nervous system, triggering all of those muscle activations. Next, calf. So we're going to come right up onto our power plate, keeping our knees soft, weight into the soft tissues. Remember, we're also receiving micro hits, so we want to be down in our soft tissues. It'll make it much more comfortable. If you notice here, I'm going to go slightly sideways. You can absolutely face a wall, or if you're on your move and you don't have a column, you could hold on to the wall or a chair. But I've pressed my heel, the calf that I'm stretching, into the power plate, and I want to make sure that it's on the platform. Now from here, we're going to drive the hips forward. Then we're going to move side to side, as well as rotate them while really focusing on driving that heel down into the plate and keeping it there firmly. Once you have that mastered, if you want to increase that range of motion, you could use your knee as the driver. So if I'm holding on here, I'm going to use my knee to drive my hips forward and back, side to side, and maybe even rotationally, opening my knee up and out. That's going to help to enhance that stretch for that calf. And then same thing on the other side, pressing that heel down. Imagine you want to hold $1,000 bill underneath that heel. Don't let anybody take it. We can move through right to left, front and back, as well as that rotational movement. And then you could drive the knee as well to enhance that movement and deepen that stretch a little bit. Lastly, in this preparation, we're talking about lats and upper back. So we're actually going to bring it to the floor for this particular movement into sort of a modified child's pose. I'm going to tip this down just a little bit so you can see a little bit more. As I turn my plate on, I have my hands and my forearms as much on the plate as possible so that just my head is coming down beyond. I'm going to press my chest down and release. Keeping my hands in contact and then pulling my shoulder blades back down into my back pockets. So I almost want to think about like gripping on and really pressing the parts of my arms into the power plate to utilize that vibration. Then I'm going to move right to left. And then lastly, for that transverse plane, in this position, I'm going to look under one arm, under the other arm, so that I get that little bit of rotational movement. Now, for those of you that are wondering, how can I complete this if I'm not able to get down onto the floor? You can actually use the static straps that you have provided with any model of plate. They're going to be on there. So I want to show you just very quickly how you can use those straps. Since you are going to be on the floor, you can turn the plate vibration up just a little bit higher. The straps do generate some of that vibration through them. And then we can just set those to be nice and firmly Velcroed to one another so that you can do a very similar motion, but using the straps to stretch this area. So I've got my straps attached here. I can come back into that same position, coming down, gripping tightly, and then moving through those same planes of motion. So that's another way to utilize the vibration if you are unable to get down onto the floor to actually stretch in those areas. So I'm going to come back over here, get closer to everybody. Now, I know I didn't say it, and I probably should have, but if you had a plate and you were able to move with me, I hope you were moving with me and actually practicing those. If not, no worries. This is all on the app. You can follow along to a lot of different things on our PowerPlay app, which is free. So I'm going to go back to the actual slideshow. So as you can see, just a reminder of what all we just did. So you can see that we did all the TVP, the roller, the dual sphere, and the pulse, and each of those muscle groups that we addressed. Then we moved into the power plate and did hamstrings, anterior hip, glute or posterior hip, as well as calf, and then the upper back or lats area. So that's what we just did as kind of a full body preparation phase into what you might then continue to do, whether it's on the plate or on the floor or some other modality if you're working out. Okay, let me find my mouse. All right. For our perform section, it's really unlimited. Earlier, I know I mentioned that anything, whether it's complex or very simple, that you do on the floor, simply put it on a power plate and you're going to enhance the movement. That's exactly what we're talking about. So just a reminder that when we talk about core integration, We're talking about prone or supine, so planks or bridges. And when you look at what we might do here, you could do anything between 30 to 40 low to high. Just a reminder that now we're in that workout portion, that it could be 30 all the way up to 60 seconds or a full minute, and 1 to 3 sets. So when you start thinking about that, you're like, oh, I might do, 3 rounds of 30 seconds doing a plank. Absolutely. That's something that you could do. Really, anything that you would be doing on the floor, do it on the plate, and just be mindful of what is the best use of vibration. So in the picture, you can see that they're doing a bridge here and they have their feet on the plate. We always want to make sure we're utilizing, what bits or parts of our body are we trying to address or work? And then that's the part that should be, moving and grooving on top of where the whole body vibration is coming from. So for a push-up, you would put your hands on the plate rather than your feet on the plate for the push-up. Why? We're trying to work the chest, the upper body. So you want to have that portion in contact with the power plate. Speaking of, I know I jumped to push-up over after talking about core integration, that functional strength and power, that is exactly what you can move to next. Push-up, squats, lunges, pulls. Again, frequency, you could go 4 to 6 sets of 30 to 60 seconds. Your amplitude, again, is going to be anything from 30 to 40 low to high. You could even add load. And you notice here, the load that they've added in the picture is the utilization of those static straps. That can be one addition of load. You notice maybe in the back a little bit further that they're holding dumbbells. Again, it's unlimited. What you need to remember is that our first intensity dial is the vibration. And because we are doing so much more in such a compressed time, that I encourage you to focus first on just using vibration as the intensity dial before you add load. So for example, if you're doing a squat, a lunge, or in this case, a pull, as you see them using the static straps for, you do that for 30 seconds at 30 low. And then maybe you eventually build up to 60 seconds. Then after you've mastered that, you maybe go to 35 low before you start increasing the intensity of the vibration itself. And then eventually you might add load. So we progress this, or we overload the progression in the same way that we would with a workout. We're going to start small and grow as we get used to that vibration and are looking for that next challenge. So I'm going to unshare very quickly to, again, go back to my plate. Just a quick reminder, core integration first. So we talk about utilizing the plate for anything for the core. We mentioned planks. So again, you could do everything from a plank, a high plank, to a low plank here. You could do side planks. You could do walking planks, so loads of variations there. We can also then do bridge variations. So you saw in the photo that they had a one-legged bridge going on. Now I don't have a cushion here, but hopefully you have a cushion, or perhaps you have a step, because we want to be careful about the spine. So we can hold here into a bridge. They were doing a single leg bridge. You could make them dynamic. Again, the possibilities are endless in what you can do. Same is true for a push-up. I mentioned that you might want to do push-ups. Hands are going to be up here. You could do squats. We could do a split squat. We could do a lunge variation. Again, whatever it is that you're training for, whatever your goal and objective is, you're going to use power play just to get there a little bit more quickly, a little bit more efficiently. Okay, let's look then at what's happening next, which is going to be recover. Soft tissue, we again address that idea of massaging, rehydrating, flexibility. We're going to have some functional flexibility moves. And in this case, if you notice, as we look at this slide, we're going to utilize the roller, dual sphere, and pulse once again, so I can show you some techniques there. Then we're going to go to the power plate to address a couple of areas, big areas of the legs to massage on. So if you have that roller, dual sphere, or pulse nearby, feel free to do these with me, because that's where I'm going to start. And again, I'm going to go back to my area over here. So starting with the roller, we are doing our low back or QL. This is an area that's always tight for me. I actually was rolling this area earlier this morning. So right under here, as we talk about underneath the armpit, this area is often tight. If you remember, we're going to do 2 to 4 techniques. And here we're going to go again, somewhere between, 30 to 90 seconds. So I'm going forward and back. I might roll right to left. Ooh, this one takes my breath away, I'm not going to lie. And I've only got mine on level 2 today. And I'm using my leg to support myself a little bit. So we would do that on both sides. Again, going right through, it's kind of underneath, backside of that armpit, right into this area that's usually pretty tender. Getting both of those sides through those several techniques. Next, that dual sphere. And this is for posterior shoulders. So the design of this is great because I can really get into kind of those nooks and crannies around the roundness of the shoulders. So setting yours to whatever feels comfortable for you. I'm going to get up here and use my plate again to be a stabilizer. So I'm going to swing around this way. Same thing's going to happen. You are going to roll forward and back, side to side, perhaps rotate across, utilizing those little power plate emblems to really grab the tissue. Doing approximately 30 to 90 seconds, because we were talking about the dual sphere and the roller, we go a little bit longer for that body part on each side. Lastly, we are using our pulse. And for this one, first we're going to start with up here, traps neck area. Because this is a smaller muscle group, a little bit harder to get into. If you have the mini plus, feel free to use that. I'm actually going to choose a little bit more direct application for this one. So I've got the small flat today. So 15 to 45 seconds. You might find that the bullet, the fork work if you're not overly sore. If you're very sore, you might go back to that large flat. It has a little bit more give, a little bit surface area, or even the small round. Or have someone else do it for you. Have your trainer do it for you. Again, we're talking about just using that pulse, traps and neck, then bicep and tricep. For this one today, I want to show you the fork. So shaped in a little fork position. Often feels good on the forearms, bicep, tricep, some of these smaller muscle group areas, because I can get right in here, a little bit more pointed into that muscle tissue. Same for the back of the arm. All the same things apply, 2 to 4 different techniques. So perhaps forward and back, side to side. And then we're going 15 to 45 seconds for each of those areas. So if you remember, we're talking about alleviating pain, muscle stiffness, soreness, improving hydration by improving the circulation to those areas. And that's all happening because we have that targeted vibration, telling the brain, hey, send some blood flow here. Do you feel that? Send some blood flow here. All right, let's go to our power plate and massage. First, we're going to be in a prone position, lying down, stomach toward the floor to get these quads. This is where you can take that plate all the way up to 50 high. If you have one of the pro versions, for example, this is a Pro 5. It does go all the way up to 50 high. If you have one of the home versions, you could go anywhere from levels 1 to 6. That's 30 low, all the way up to 40 high. It really is about personal preference. So if it feels good to stay at one of those lower settings, focus on that first. But we're going to get this going. We can go 60 plus seconds for the muscle group, if you like. We're going to come down, find a comfortable position where that muscle body, the quad, is in direct contact with your plates. You want to be as passive as possible. I'm holding myself up here a little bit. If you have one of the cushions or if you have a step, one of the risers, you could lie down and be as passive as you'd like, so that you can really relax into this. Then we're going to put our muscle body and move it across the platform. So notice I'm pulling my heels in. I can extend them back. We just want to get as much of that muscle tissue in contact with the whole body vibration as possible. Now I'm moving right to left. You're going to find muscle fibers, areas of the muscle body that feel a little stuck. You want to marinate in those. Go ahead, find those areas and then stay there for a moment. Let them utilize what power plate is doing for your body to really drive blood flow. So we want them to move across one another very smoothly and seamlessly. So we're rehydrating them. You know, think about a rope that gets very dry. For example, if you've ever tied a boat up to a boat dock and then there's a bunch of sunny days and there's no water or no rain that hits the rope, it gets really tight and it would be hard to undo where you've tied it up to the boat dock. If you put some water on it, it's going to be much easier to untie that rope. Our muscle tissues work in a very similar way. If they get quote unquote very dry or dehydrated, they don't want to move and function properly. They don't want to slide across one another. So we are rehydrating them and getting them to move and slide across one another. So after you've done the prone quads position right here, you're going to come into side lying. So on my side, again, feel free to lie down into a really passive position. I've got that knee to hip area in contact with the plate, the side part of my thigh, that lateral hip area. I'm going to take this top leg and rest it right on top of the plate so that I'm supporting my low back and keeping myself really stable. From here, I can pull that bottom heel in towards my butt and then extend that leg back so that I'm just extending and bending that bottom leg. I can also lift it up slightly. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm lifting and rotating this bottom leg so that one part of my thigh is exposed and then going back into that more rested position. So this is going to get into that IT band, the side of the quad, that whole lateral hip area that's typically pretty tight for most humans. You would repeat this same process on the opposite leg to complete that recovery. So always want to make sure, obviously, when I lay down, I did both of my quads at the same time. You might be doing one at a time if you have one of our smaller plates, but in that side lying position, I'm obviously only getting one side. So I want to make sure that I get the other side as well. So I'm going to put my headphones back in. That way, hopefully you can hear me just a little better than when I'm yelling at you from the back of the power plate. And I'm going to share that again, my screen, where it gives you that full recovery protocol that we just did. So we went through with the roller, we did that QL. We used the dual sphere then for the posterior shoulders, the pulse for neck, traps, finished with bicep, tricep, then went to the plate, did our quads and our lateral hip as examples of what you can do if you came back into the soft tissue or massage section. So training guidelines, when you're thinking about, hey, what does it mean to be able to use a power plate? Can I use a power plate? Well, it is an extremely safe device. In fact, as long as you are cleared to exercise, meaning you can do weight bearing and cardiorespiratory exercise, you can use a power plate. I mentioned earlier when I was standing up on top of the plate to stretch my calves, keep a little bend in the knees or hips and elbows. For example, if you're in that push-up position or a plank position, that's just going to minimize that vibration travel and keep it in your soft tissues and make things feel much more comfortable for you because you are receiving micro hits. So think about when we're jumping, we always start with the bend and end with the bend. It's that same concept because you are getting those micro hits when you're on top of the plate. So I mentioned the move. I know you guys had a whole list of things in the poll of power plate devices, and we actually had quite a few. I think almost every single one. Maybe the Mini Plus was the only one that wasn't. Nope, people had the Mini Plus. I'm looking back at the poll now. So people on this webinar, you are power plate users. That's amazing. We had a little bit of everything out there going on. So targeted vibration, we've looked through all of these. You can see the examples of what we use here, that idea of utilizing the same kind of science that we've got in whole body vibration, applying it in a more targeted way. If you're wondering, what am I going to do after this? How am I going to know what to do? We have an app and it is free, and there are loads of really informative videos on there that show you not just how to use your plate, but also how to use any of the targeted vibration products. So if you download that app, once you're in there, you can do the getting started guide. I encourage you to start there. It's going to help you to develop a 21-day habit and walk you through some very simple things and ways to use your power plate. Then you can dive into any of the classes that are listed on there, and you can even search by what type of workout or movement, if you want to stretch that day, if you're looking for mobility, if you want to do a HIIT session, a strength section, a yoga session, you can search just for that. And you can also then look by the actual targeted vibration products themselves to find videos. So now I think I made it in time. I'm actually not been watching the time, so fingers crossed. I think we still have at least 5 minutes.
You crushed it, Laura.
Okay, I'm going to stop share and just come back to us, Haley.
Excellent. We have a question from John Garena. Would you like me to read it, or would you like to open the Q&A?
Let's see. Let me open the Q&A and see if I can find it. It's a matter of scrolling. Is it at the top?
It'll be under, it should be under answered.
Oh, hey.
Then you can
look, I'm like the technical parts. Okay. Hold, please. Oh, answer. Look at this, you guys. I am not the techiest person. I usually ask my children. So I'm coming. I found it. Okay. It says, I know this question's asked every workshop. Can vibration be safe for subjects with pacemakers, etc.? The answer is yes. Yes, it can. I have a roster of medical doctors who always ask. So if you guys, I don't know, Haley, can anybody else see those, or is it just us?
Those answers that I typed for John were private, so you can expand on the question and answer now.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure so that everybody's getting this. Yeah, we get asked all the time, people with pacemakers, defibrillators, can you use the power plate? And the answer is, if you are cleared for cardiorespiratory exercise, weight-bearing exercise, you can absolutely use the power plate. Here's the key. Power plate is vibration. And sometimes we think about that and we get freaked out and we try to make things too complex. Guess what? When you drive in your car down the road, that's vibration. When you walk around in your house, that's vibration. When you go up the stairs, that's vibration. Our human bodies are experiencing vibration all the time. And in fact, this is probably going to be way better than that because it is precise and predictable. So your brain and your body can anticipate what's going to happen and thus make really great adaptations. So we absolutely want to tell our people that if they're cleared, they can use it, because this is mechanical. It's the same vibration as you think about, just ground reaction force. It's all manual. The motors are moving the plate itself. So hopefully that answers that question in enough detail. Okay, moving down here, what product I'd recommend to clean grip tape on the power plate? Oh boy, replacing grip tape, etc. It looks like Haley answered that one. We always, it's a tech device. So use warm water and soap and just really simple green or something like that that's kind to it. You can use sanitizer wipes. If you have any other issues, just let us know, because we can put you in touch with the people who can help you with that. Let's see. Moving down. Oh, I think I scrolled a little bit too wild there. Exercise physiology position and proposing a power plate program. We're looking at radio frequency microneedling. The plate would, can we incorporate lymphatic therapy? Okay. Yes. Talking about lymphatic therapy. So when we think about the science of what power plate whole body vibration does, we are increasing circulation in massive amounts. So it is a great tool for lymphatic therapy. And we are actually a number of studies that exist on that. Whether you go onto the website and look at those linked, you can search if you type in lymphatic, it's going to help to pull those up. Or if you can't find that, again, please feel free to just, email us at training@powerplate.com and we can help you with that. Anything else?
Laura, I'm going to have you go click on the open box in the top left of the Q&A panel. And there's a few more questions now.
Okay. All right. Is there a weight limit on the Pro 5? I've had a few people on mine and the vibration just slowed down and shut off. So there are weight recommendations on each of the plates, but they're actually quite significant. So this Pro 5, this is the unit that I have, and I believe that it's 450 pounds. So it is quite significant. And in fact, if you look at a lot of these plates that are being used, the Pro 5s in particular, as well as the Pro 5 HP unit with NFL teams, so very large people using weights on top of them. So if you're having issues with a plate that seems to be shutting off or seem to have slowed down, please let us know. That seems very unusual to me, and I'm sure Haley would probably concur. So perhaps we need to get you in touch with some of the people on the service side. Next, can you use power plate if you've had a knee replacement with plates and screws? Again, I'm going to come back to the default answer. If you are cleared for weight bearing and cardiorespiratory exercise, you absolutely can. And in fact, we often see power plate used in medical settings where we're talking about rehabbing from those particular types of surgeries, injuries, etc. I actually have a client myself that I'm working with right now who had knee replacement surgery 3 weeks ago, and her surgeon, who is through the Mayo Clinic, cleared her 48 hours after surgery in her case that I was allowed to have her standing on the power plate 48 hours after surgery. So she was going to be standing on it just to generate circulation. Why? We can heal. We can heal from the inside out. Next, what about knee osteoarthritis? Are there any precautions? So in this case, it becomes one of those, it depends. If, again, the patient, client, person is cleared for cardiorespiratory weight-bearing exercise, they can absolutely use power plate. It might come down to comfort. It might come down to that person themselves, what they feel comfortable doing, and staying pain-free as they're perhaps moving on and off power plate. So a lot of these, when we talk about someone very specific, a specific person with a specific condition, I'm probably going to give you the answer, it depends. And we might have to talk to that person specifically. But can someone with knee osteoarthritis use a plate? Yes, if they're cleared to exercise. I think I got through each of those. Can it be used? I see this. Can it be used for severe osteoporosis? So I'm sure some of you can guess, what is my answer going to be? If the person is cleared for cardiorespiratory weight-bearing exercise, yes. And in fact, you'll see loads of studies on those who have both osteoporosis and osteopenia and how the power plate is used to help them with that condition, because it is helpful in building bone mineral density. In fact, there were studies done by the Journal of Bone Mineral Density, because I think it's like 1 in 3 women and 1 in 7 men actually have osteoporosis/osteopenia. And in the study, they did power plate movements, standing, squats, and very basic mobility movements 3 times a week for about 10 to 15 minutes, and had some really outstanding results. Hey, anything else that's out there?
I think we've got them all. We did have Ashley in the chat. She asked us about why you would use the mat or cushion. You can expand on that if you'd like.
Yeah, so I did, if you noticed, and I know, I'm not sure you guys did or not, because it's dark in this room, and the bottom of the power plate does have a non-slip surface on it. And then there's a cushion or mat that was sitting on top of it. I typically have it off. That non-slip surface underneath is going to do a couple of things. First of all, it's going to help you to not slip. But the little cushion, and if you looked in some of the pictures in our slides, you can see it. If you have bony structures, for example, if I'm doing a forearm plank and I've got this whole part of my arm, that might not feel comfortable. If you're in that kneeling kind of anterior hip flexor stretch where the knee quad insertion was on the power plate itself, you might want that on there because it just feels a little rough on that surface. So anything where you have bony areas that are in direct contact, it might be more comfortable. So some people love it. Some people like to be, my clients love to be like barefoot on the non-slip surface. And there's something to be said, if that feels comfortable for you, because the bottom of the foot has a lot of proprioceptive sensors. So if you're really sensitive to that, maybe you keep that cushion on, maybe you keep your shoes on. If you're not, and you really want to, get in contact with the top of that plate.
Gary would like to know a little bit about the Rev.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So obviously I've got it just sitting back here, just, teasing everyone. This is an entire new category of vibration that we have been developing for many years, actually a decade, because we wanted to get it right. And we just launched this project in March, I guess it was, to the world. And I actually just got back last week from Dave Asprey's biohacking convention launching the Rev. It is self-powered vibration. What does that mean? Precise, predictable, all the things you guys know. For those of you who are hopping on here, you're like, I love PowerPlate. The things that you know about the immense, gold standard, high quality that PowerPlate provides, that's what the Rev is. But that vibration is being delivered through the pedals. So the gear is where the secret sauce is. So there's a round gear, so you can cycle as if you would on a normal bike. You can also then cycle with vibration on. So suddenly from going to a round gear to, if you're old enough like me to remember spirographs when we were kids, where you would put like one gear inside like a circle, and then you would use your pen and it would be like and make that kind of little frictioned gear inside. That's basically what's happening. Drops a pin in, gear shifts over. Now we're writing over friction. So simulating that idea of friction and resistance, making it harder to then pedal. And when we say self-power, it's determined by how fast you're riding. So what's your RPM? Is it 90 or is it 120? That's the self-powered aspect. Notice there is no electricity going to the Rev. It's just you. It's just you creating that friction when you ride with vibration. Again, when we talk about PowerPlate, we know a couple of things. We know that what it does is it shrinks, it enhances what we're doing, it optimizes what we're doing, and it shrinks the time needed. That's what this does. And I'm talking 20 seconds of vibration 2 times in a ride. So ride for about 7 minutes, 40 seconds, and you're done. That's your workout. That's going to increase mechanical power. That's going to increase metabolic power. What?
Boom. Okay, we got three more questions for you. Number 1, Max has asked, for things like running or cycling, is it better to use vibration pre, post, or both?
Both. So we actually have specific running and cycling protocols. If you get on the app, you can follow along, because what we're going to do again is when we talk about, truly doing a beneficial warm up, physiologically, we're talking 12 to 16 minutes in a traditional warm up setting to really be ready to optimize your running or cycling program. We can take the PowerPlate and get you really hydrated, mobility wise, functional flexibility, and your body prepped and primed, and including that cardiorespiratory system in more like 5-ish minutes. So I think a couple of the protocols that are on the app are like 5.5 minutes, going through what you should do pre-run, pre-cycle. And then when you come back, of course, we want to cool down. We want to get all of those nutrients and that blood flow back to the muscle tissues that you just, stressed, and also start that repair process, as well as flushing lactic acid. And that's what PowerPlate does exceptionally well. So then you come back afterwards, you do that 3 to 4 minutes of some dynamic or functional flexibility movements, as well as massage, and you feel absolutely phenomenal. So both, do it as a bookend to that running and cycling.
Excellent. All right. Patricia would like to know, should you alternate days when using plate like weight training?
So here's the interesting thing to think about. That is a concept when we think about training. You don't want to go in really heavy and lift, something crazy upper body, and then go the very next day and lift again, crazy heavy upper body. What you can do on PowerPlate though is utilize it every day, because the one thing about a PowerPlate is I can use it for everything. It can be my yoga, it can be my mobility, it can be my stretch, it can be my strength, it can be a cardiorespiratory exercise. So I can come back to it every single day and do something that's going to promote and optimize my health, my longevity, etc. So you still want to be mindful of what you're doing. You don't want to come in and use your plate in the exact same way every day because you're not really optimizing. But yes, you can absolutely use it every day. So you could do, something 10 minutes every single day if you wanted to on a power plate and still, really be enhancing your life.
Excellent. And finally, Noelle is asking, is there any risk in laying supine directly on the plate?
So there are no studies to indicate any kind of risk for that. It just comes down to what are you trying to achieve? Is that something that's going to enhance what you're trying to achieve? Are you using the whole body vibration from the power plate in the best way? And secondarily, is it comfortable? Is it comfortable for you? I have clients who, there are some really great things that I have a lot of clients do. And this one client says that's not comfortable. So that rules that out right away. I also have someone come in and say, I want to do a headstand on a power plate. And I would say, why do you want to do that? What are you achieving with doing a headstand on a power plate? So really it comes back to considering those two things. What are you using the whole body vibration for? Is that the optimal way? And then secondarily, is it comfortable? Does it feel good to you? But other than that, it really is client preference. That's what it comes down to.
Excellent. I believe that's all of our questions.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for hopping on here. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to us, to reach out to our team if you think of something later. Haley, thank you for helping with this. Haley is one of our phenomenal master educators on this team. So I know she's kind of like the man behind, or in this case, the woman behind the curtain. But I do want to thank her because her and I work closely together. And if I didn't, I would be very remiss because she's a phenomenal educator on our team as well. So thanks, everyone.
Pleasure. Thank you, guys.